Our purpose for today is to share measures to keep our staff and students safe while we continue to provide and maintain an academically rich environment. Make sure that you as parents have current information as we continue to plan for reopening, and give you all an opportunity and space to ask any questions that you may have. And then as a part of that, as I was saying about the chat, allow you all into our space and we all become thought partners together. At this point, it's only been faculty and staff in the think tank, but we want to open up the opportunity for everyone in our community to be thought partners with us. And so we hope that you find today a great opportunity for you to do that. Our agenda, of course, is greetings and overview. I want to allow you all to see who's a part of the reopening task force. We'll give you all the updates for reopening, allow you all to answer questions, and then we'll close out. I do recognize today is football Sunday and football games start at 1 o'clock. So I'm here as long as you all have questions, but I want to get the majority of it out. I am rooting for the home team, and I know the Falcons start at 1 o'clock. So as an Atlanta native, born and bred, got to be there with the home team. These are the members of our Oakview reopening task force. As you see, this is a collective opportunity for us to talk about and come up with what will be Oakview's reopening plan. I enjoy sharing the space of leadership with some very qualified people in our building. And so these individuals are just a snapshot of that leadership in our building. And so these, as you see, we have people from all over our building, administrators, our custodial staff, every area of our building, there is a representative on our reopening task force. And so parents, I ask that you today bring in the parent perspective if we have missed anything in our plan. So jumping right in, this should look familiar to you. This has been shared in several of the board meetings as well from our superintendent, and it was also shared during the day if you had an opportunity to call in and you had questions. This is the document that I pulled information from. But this is the description of the levels of community spread. Excuse me, and this information is taken straight from the Department of Public Health. And this is COVID cases that are actually confirmed with a test. This is what it looks like. I added for you the website that the district uses that updates by state and by county the number of cases per 100,000 residents. And so as you see, this picture was taken this morning. So as of this morning in DeKalb County, we have about 138 cases over the 14-day period average for every 100,000 individuals. So that is up, and it has been going up, steady ticking over the last 2 weeks. Just the other day, we were at 123, and now 2 days later, we are at 138. So you'll see, according to the level of community spread as outlined by the CDC and the Department of Health, we are in what they deem the substantial spread category, because we do have more than 100 cases per 100,000 residents. So how does DeKalb make decisions as it relates to that information? Looking at the level of community spread, the district has been very clear and transparent about the instructional delivery. So with more than 100,000 cases per 100,000 individuals over a 14-day period, we will remain in distance learning and remote learning. So some of you are saying, well, Pressley, what is the date that you all are coming back? I don't have a date because it is based on the level of community spread. And right now, as a county for DeKalb, we are in the substantial spread. You will see moving once we hit the 6 to 100-day cases, which takes us to a minimal or moderate category. Then we start looking at the hybrid model. And that is, again, after we've been in that 6 to 100 cases per 100,000 individuals. And once we hit 1 to 5 cases, and we've had a substantial decline in cases of COVID, then we can have what we've known as traditional learning. And so that's what kind of determines, or that is what determines when we will go back in school. So I thought it was very appropriate that you all were able to see that website, and I'll make sure that this presentation is uploaded for you, but that you can see that website so that if you choose, you could check that website on a daily basis like we do. The district makes their decisions after at the 3:30 mark, someone checks it in the district. But because you've got counties and public officials reporting all times of the day, that number could change after 3:30. But the district makes their decisions when they look at the numbers right around the 3:30 time frame every day. And so as you saw what that looks like as far as cases, to how the district makes their decision to go even further, what that looks like for students and staff coming into the building. So right now, once again, we're still in a substantial spread. And so we're all staying home for distance and remote learning. As those numbers begin to decline, as you see in phase 2 through 5, then we will slowly phase back into the building. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because we visited this document before, but definitely am willing, if anyone has questions, please add that and I can go back. But the phases are very clear. The number of students or cases, the number of cases per 100,000 in DeKalb County as a whole are very clear. And it shows you progressively how we will re-enter the building safely. So what does that look like for Oakview? At this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Perry.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to talk about our plan for reopening, our safety commitments. In the bold, you'll see the district's commitments, and underneath that, you'll see Oakview's commitments. The district has committed to providing signage to support safety practices, wearing a face mask or covering when in schools. This goes for staff. Masks and face shields will be provided for the staff of Oakview. The students also are required to wear a mask, and those will be provided by the parents and will be placed on a color-coded lanyard. And the purpose of the color-coded lanyard is because different cohorts will have different colors. We will also practice social distancing, 6 feet away from others. We will have markers on the floor to encourage and reiterate the 6-foot distance between each student. We will also encourage washing hands and sanitizing hands often. Soap and towels will be provided in the restroom, as well as training for proper usage and properly discarding of these items. We will have directional cues posted throughout the building. And we will also follow the 4 C's, and the 4 C's are cover our faces, clean and clasp our hands, create safe space, and clean and sanitize. Okay, we also have a plan for the environment of the building. As I stated before, the district commitments are in bold, and then the Oakview commitments are underneath that. The district commits to performing quarterly filter changes in the school. At Oakview, we will make sure that we maintain a schedule that will hold the district accountable to that schedule. The district commits to providing corrective maintenance priorities such as HVAC and plumbing. At Oakview, we will make sure that we monitor completion of work orders that have been submitted in regard to those things. Plexiglass partitions will be provided at the front desk and at the registrar's desk. The county will provide hand sanitizer dispensers that will be located in high traffic areas. At Oakview, we will commit to keeping them filled, requiring usage upon entering the building, as well as preserving the battery life after hours when the building is not in use. The district commits to installing bottle fill stations in schools. As we know, the use of water fountains will not be allowed. So in lieu of water fountains, the district commits to installing these bottle fill stations. The district also commits to flushing the water system regularly, and Oakview will maintain a schedule for that and monitor that, especially when the building is closed.
And if I could add one thing, their parents, for the bottle fill stations have not been installed yet. Last I heard, those were on back order, and so the district is waiting to get those, and I believe November is roughly an estimated date. But if we are returned to the building, when we return to the building, whether we have bottle fill stations or not, if you choose to send your child to school with a bottled water, I'm going to ask that you make sure that it is in a clear water bottle, not a purchased water bottle for continued use, but like a Dasani, Aquafina, something like that, water bottle. That is district guidelines, so that we can ensure that our children are truly drinking water. And I know that may sound crazy at the elementary level, but it does have to be consistent across the board. Again, we service pre-K through 5th grade. And for those of our students that have access or who may not, have the same level of parenting that we may provide to our children or we may have received, we want to make sure that all of our children are drinking strictly water. So you can reuse the same bottle, but we are asking that it is a commercial bottle where we can see the contents of the bottle. And please ask them not to mix anything in the water. It has to be purely water.
So now we're going to talk about our plan for cleaning the schools. I know that is a priority thing that you all want to know about, as well as the staff. So the district has given us some commitments with cleaning as well. The district commits to providing schools with guidance on cleaning prior to and after re-entry into the building that align with CDC and Department of Public Health guidance. At Oakview, we will continue to clean prior to and after re-entry into the buildings. The district will provide technical assistance for schools to execute cleaning protocols, plan custodial schedules, and provide tutorials. At Oakview, we will commit to making sure that our custodial staff participates in all tutorials on proper cleaning of the building and sanitation practices. The district also commits to increase inventory of cleaning and disinfection products, hand soap, and paper goods, like I mentioned earlier with the bathrooms. At Oakview, we will continue to monitor our inventory to ensure that we have all the things and all the items that we need. The district also commits to implementing mandatory cleaning protocols that involve frequent, enhanced cleaning of high-touch areas. At Oakview, we will create a schedule of cleaning that will allow continuous, effective cleaning while the students are in the building. The district commits to requiring faculty and staff to clean our office areas, our workspaces, and equipment after use with disinfectant spray and wipes. Oakview will provide products upon delivery and monitor our cleaning process. Transportation. The district has given us very strict guidelines on transportation, and so we will follow them with fidelity. The district commitments include requiring face coverings and face shields for drivers and bus monitors, requiring face covering for students, and as I mentioned earlier, the parents will provide those, but they will be color-coded on a lanyard. Implementing regular routing schedules, making sure to alternate dismissal and loading of buses, and this is done in an effort to reduce the number of students in hallways and spaces and the number of face-to-face contact. The district also commits to enhancing safety and cleaning protocols for buses before, during, and after the bus routes to also ensure sanitation procedures are taking place. The district commits to implementing protocol for increasing fresh air on buses, and this can be done simply by opening the windows and allowing a free flow of air on the bus. Hand sanitizers will be placed on the buses, as well as providing communication to parent safety at the bus stop. And now we'll turn it over to Ms. Middlebrooks to discuss our plan in regard to the classroom.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the classroom for Oakview, we're going to target 12 to 16 students per classroom as practical. We will alternate the seating, so no child is in the same seat as the students that come the prior day. We will facilitate daily instruction simultaneously in face-to-face and virtual live formats. Class rotations will be suspended. Teachers in grade 3rd through 5th will host content classes from their rooms. So students will no longer travel to different subjects. The teacher will actually rotate to the classroom. So the students will stay in the homeroom class and the teacher will come to them. Homeroom adjustments based on virtual or live attendance numbers. Conduct virtual live sessions through Google Meet. We will provide in-person services for speech, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and behavior support at the school for special education students and 504 students on hybrid days. We will conduct comprehensive evaluations in person and we will go ahead and resume hearing and vision screenings. As far as the meals, so the menus will consist of hot and grab-and-go options for all grade levels. The grab-and-go take-home meals will be offered during the hybrid rotating schedules. Combination meal service model. Each school would develop a staggered schedule for students entering the cafeteria to receive breakfast, lunch, and snack. Students will enter the cafeteria, go through the service line, select their meal, and return to the classroom. So the students will eat in the classroom so that we can practice the social distance model. Lunch menu selected each morning and provided to cafeteria. So we will send down what the students want and it will be delivered to them. For breakfast, the staggered unloading and entry into the school for breakfast. We will separate entry for car riders, walkers, and bus riders. Students will enter the cafeteria, go through the serving line, select their meal, and return to the classroom. For lunch, meal choices will be delivered to the classroom. Virtual learning students will continue with walk-up service currently in place.
So as another major question was, well, what will we do about reporting cases if they should happen in the building? DeKalb has a very strict guideline for reporting the cases of students or staff who have COVID-like symptoms. Please remember that we are not allowed to diagnose, and we are coming up on a flu season, the common cold, allergies, and sinuses are still in place. So although there may be symptoms, it does not necessarily mean there are COVID symptoms. So students and staff who are not feeling well, who have COVID symptoms, will be checked and questions will be asked. Very similar to what you see when you walk into hair salons or doctor's offices or some of your restaurants and other service providing areas. You get questioned, or they may even take your temperature. We do not do mass temperature screenings, but those that have symptoms will have temperature checks. If there is a fever with the symptoms, then parents are required to pick their children up immediately. And that is actually a common practice that we already have in place. If a staff member has a fever, we're asking them to leave the premises, and it may require that we call their emergency contact to help them. And then if necessary, we will continue to call 911. But it is very important that parents understand we do not diagnose, we only look at symptoms. We do have a nurse on staff, but she only looks at symptoms. We do not diagnose. Students and or staff members can return to the building after they have been fever-free without any type of fever-reducing agent for 24 hours. So if a child goes home at 2:30, they cannot come home. If a child leaves the school, let's say at 1 o'clock because they have a fever, they cannot come back to school the next day. They would have to have been fever-free for 24 hours before returning back to the school. Once again, the DeKalb County School District follows all of the Department of Public Health guidelines and isolation and quarantine guidance. We are required to have an isolation area in our building. We have identified 2 areas that could possibly be the isolation area. So as we get closer to the date of reopening, we'll do our walkthroughs to see which one is more conducive, to make sure that that route to get to the individual and that individual to leave the building is minimized. And if we have to have EMS services, they have easy access to that room as well. And so we do have 2 isolated locations, and we are working with the district to identify the proper individual that will be designated to man that room should we have to use it in case of someone having COVID-like symptoms. For regular clinic visits, we are putting something in place. Our students love the fact that we have a nurse, and so do our teachers. So we are putting things in place so that everyone is not going to the nurse just because they sneezed or coughed, but it has to be, we have a list of reasons. And then we still have our children that have routine visits to the nurse, whether it be for approved medications or our students that have to have diabetic checks. So we do have routine things that happen in our clinic, and we want to keep those isolated from anyone who may have COVID-like symptoms. In addition, the district has provided our steps from step 1 through step 7 of how we handle reporting. And so if we have an issue, once I am made aware, I then escalate that to DeKalb County School District's health team. And from there, they move through the chain. Any guidance needed at the school level, they will return the call to me to let me know how to move forward, whether that be shutting down a particular classroom if necessary, letting certain individuals know that they need to quarantine, and God forbid if we ever have to close our school as a result. So this is the outline for the district. This has been in place since March, and it has worked in those schools that have had positive COVID cases. With some of the staff members that are still currently working in buildings. And so we will continue along district guidance and that from the CDC, as well as the DeKalb Board of Health and DeKalb Public Health and the Board of Public Health.
Okay, we're going to discuss our activities as it relates to our reopening plan. At Oakview, we will be resuming our after-school activities once we are in phase 5. Our virtual tutorial program will begin in January. All parent events that have been outlined in the compact and the parent policy will be held virtually. So any information or dates that you've been given in regard to parent support will continue, but all will continue on a virtual platform. This will also include our PTA events. Those will also be conducted virtually. Visitors, I'm sure that we all want to know about visitors and how that will look once we reopen. And at this time, visitors will be allowed in the front office in the vestibule. They will not be allowed access to the classrooms or any of the other areas of the school. And this is done to reduce the amount of people in the hallways and any threat of infection or spreading any COVID symptoms or anything like that. So this is done purely as a safety measure to make sure that we're keeping all of our staff, all of our students, and all of our families safe during this time. We will also have a QR system in place when we have to have building assistants or other members of the county come into the building to perform work orders or things of that nature. A QR system will be in place. And we also will continue to look at how we handle late arrivals once we reopen and are back in the building. Some adjustments will have to be made, and those will be forthcoming.
So parents, at this time, we want to open the floor to you to ask questions. I'm going to ask the individual that's responsible for checking the chat for me to let me know if we have questions in the chat. If we do not have questions in the chat, if you have the raise your hand feature, that will allow us to do this a little more effectively so that we're not talking over each other.
We had one question in the chat, but they did say they received their answer. It was about will the buses pick up the students once school reopens?
Okay, awesome. Yes, buses will resume at the regularly scheduled time. And once those transportation schedules are published, then we will make sure that they are published just like we generally do at the beginning of the school year. School hours have not changed, and so I don't foresee the routing to change much. And it may depend on the number of parents that have selected to return to the building for in-person instruction. But I don't foresee that changing much at this time. All right, so that was the only question that we have in the chat. Parents, if you have a question, I don't see any hands raised. Staff that are on the call, we have a schedule for you all for us to talk as a staff. Unless you have burning questions, are there any other questions that you may have at this time that were not included in the presentation, or any comments or things that you feel we need to consider as we continue to meet? We meet every Tuesday and Thursday at 2:30. to revise our plan and continue putting things in place. Any other questions, parents? All right, well, hearing none on the floor, what you can do, parents, if questions arise later, or you have thoughts that may hit you later that you want to share with us, please feel free to message me on Dojo or send me an email with your questions or thoughts of consideration for us to take back to for me to take back to the team to make sure they are addressed. We will do this again with our final plan. What you see is what we have so far, but there are regular updates that come from the district. So as those come to me and I'm sharing those with everyone, I will make sure that they are included. Miss Betty Thomas, I see you have unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to know, my daughter was asking me, I'm the grandmama of London Thomas, do they have to come back if the school, open up, or do the mother have a choice?
Well, the district did send out an intent to return survey, and I need to put it on Dojo. The deadline was Friday just passed, but they actually extended it to this upcoming Friday. So if she has not already completed her intent to return, once we begin to open, then she may want to go ahead and do that. But in phases 2 through 4, parents do have an option. But once we go back to full face-to-face, I believe at that point it becomes mandatory for all students to re-enter the building.
Okay. So what she have to go on? It's an email that she received that she have to?
Yes, ma'am. There was an email received, but I will put the link on Class Dojo today once we finish the meeting for any parent that did not, as well as notify them of the extension.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Any other questions? This is the fastest, you all. It's 12:35. Any other questions? You may unmute yourself. Staff?
This is Miss Broughton.
Hey, Miss Broughton, how are you?
I'm good. What phases did you say that they will be mandatorily made to go back?
Phase 5. That's the very last phase where there are 0 to 5 cases per 100,000 people.
Oh, okay.
So phase 2 through 4, well, of course, phase 1 is what we're in now, digital learning, but phase 2 through 4 is where your intent to return survey comes in, and phase 5, when we're at 0 to 5 cases per 100,000, is when it becomes mandatory for everybody to return face-to-face. And if that changes, I'll definitely let you all know.
Okay.
All right, well, it seems like I can officially end this meeting at 12:37. Seems that all hearts and minds are clear. But once again, if you have any questions or comments or thoughts for consideration, please feel free to email me or Dojo me or your classroom teacher or any one of our staff members, and they can definitely get that information to someone on the reopening task force to consider in our next meeting. If you all don't have any other questions or concerns, I bid you a good day and go Falcons.